The Giants improved to 1-3. They pick up their first win of the season, beating the Saints 27-21 as New Orleans drops to 2-2 on the season. And this is where, obviously, both as fans, we can be ecstatic about it. But the Giants really, really showed something to me in this week. I think that's no secret, but I'm just so happy to see. It's the prove it year. It's always been that way for number 8, for Daniel Jones. And he's really shown out in a couple of these games where, if you look back, it's just heartbreaking. I've had to talk about it so many times. 2 losses on 2 game-winning field goals for the Falcons and the football team, where really the Giants could be 3-1 if those didn't happen, or if little mistakes didn't happen, or if certain passes were caught. So that is part of the building and growing that the Giants need to do. Personally, I think the Giants are at a little different of a level than the Jets, just because of the experience of their coach and quarterback together. But seeing really, 28 for 40, 402 passing yards, that's what really stands out. 2 touchdowns and then 1 pick, but that interception was a Hail Mary at halftime. So I don't even count that.
No.
It won him Offensive Player of the Week, which is, I think, the first time he's ever won that in his career, unless he won it 2 weeks ago when he played the football team, because he was phenomenal in that game as well. But you can talk all day about who is a leader of a team, but on the field, on the offensive side of the football, it is the quarterback. And Daniel Jones, really, to me, with how he's playing, with how he's leading these guys, despite not having Sterling Shepard, despite not having Darius Slayton, his 2 favorite targets, really, still going out, still playing well, still leading these guys to a tough, gritty victory, to me is just phenomenal to see.
I've loved what I've seen from Daniel Jones basically in every single game. And it was tough because I think he gets unfairly criticized.
Absolutely.
And listen, the turnover problem, it is a thing, but I think people let the turnover gloss over what is a very talented young man. This guy has a great cannon for an arm.
Yep.
He's got mobility that has really become a legitimate weapon. And his accuracy, I think it's really underrated. Big thing for me, right? 20 or 40, 6 for 6 in overtime, right? And just made the passes when he needed to. I think you look at this season and 1-3, but I don't think there's any particular loss that you peg on Daniel Jones and you go, man, that one's all on him. Like, he's done his job. That Washington game, I mean, he played his heart out. And that really, we can talk about how they could be 3-1. They should at least be 2-2. If Slayton catches a pass, I feel like I'm getting flashbacks to last year with Evan Ingram, right? Like, if Slayton catches a pass in the end zone, or if Lawrence doesn't jump off sides as the D tackle over the center on a field goal, right? This is at least a 2-2 team. And listen, I love what I've seen from Daniel Jones, and I even saw some improvement. Like, he made the drives when we needed to. Like, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, down 10. I remember being like, we need a touchdown. Boom, there it is.
The game was over.
But boom, he finds Saquon Barkley. There it is. Huge. And then runs in the 2-point conversion, because why not? He's a machine when it comes to 2-point conversions. Yeah. That's his play, the QB draw. He runs it in. And then driving down the field to get them into field goal range. Like, we're starting to see him make the plays when he really needs to. And I believe this guy can be the franchise QB. I don't know what you think.
Again, that's where it is to me. It's the prove it year, and right now he is proving it. He is proving it. The O-line for the Giants is still just not good enough. If you ask, I think most fans, and not even fans, it's just not a good enough offensive line to give consistent protection. I think if it was, you'd see more games like this out of Daniel Jones, and Saquon Barkley will be back in full swing at this point. I'll talk about him really quickly because, Saquon gets going, this whole team gets going. I think more so than even if Daniel Jones is having a tough day and Saquon's playing well, you're still in the game. He had running the ball, he had 13 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown, but receiving football, he had 5 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown. So a monstrous day. Over 100 yards total on the day, 126, nice math, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, if you're going to get that out of Saquon Barkley and lose, that's a problem. But they've really shown, and the Saints are, I don't care what people say about Jameis Winston or whatever, they are a good team. They are a pretty good team. Potential playoff team.
They should make the playoffs.
No one thought the Giants were going to be able to walk into New Orleans and win, and they did so in very glorious fashion in overtime without a doubt. And Daniel Jones made it known that they were going to do without a doubt. But I mean, between those 2 guys, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, they are the leaders of the offense. And I've even said when they ran those read option plays so often against the football team in week 2, it was some of the best Giants offense I've seen since the 2 of them have been on the team. And I don't know if maybe they don't want teams to figure it out too well, or if they just don't want to run it too often because then it obviously becomes predictable for anyone. But the combination of these two, and that they both could have, I guess, like the spark plug idea of whether it's a deep throw, whether it's a screen pass, whether it's the read option. There's so much to do, and that's where I think really as a fan, it's just so exciting that these guys can really get going now. And again, Giants probably won't make the playoffs, but to see them just go and play really good, tough games against a lot of tough teams. The Giants' schedule is very tough. We'll get into it in a few minutes, but to see them go out there and be able to do it is really more important to me than obviously it's not more important than winning the playoffs, but more important than just, losing games like they have in the past, because the development is what needs to be seen. Growth and change. It's a tough league, tough division for the Giants always, but there's a level for Daniel Jones that has to go from here to here, for Barkley from here to here, and the whole team has to go up a notch. And if those two can start it, the whole team should follow.
The scary thing for other teams in the league is that I don't think Saquon's 100%.
No.
Right. Yeah. Right. Nope. Like we've seen him be okay, receiving everything, but like the running game has not been a strength so far for the Giants. And it feels like once a game, like he'll break out like a big run. You're like, that's the Saquon I know, but it still flashes.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of dead plays. And part of that's the O-line. And part of that, I think, is that Saquon's got to get his legs back under him again. And I think like you get to the midpoint of the season, if Saquon's fully right, like this is a Giants offense that could really do some scary stuff. And I do think it's a problem that like people don't think the Giants can be competitive against teams like the Saints, because this team should be competitive against those teams. Like it's a problem that we lost to Atlanta. That should be at this point for where the Giants are at. That should be an easy win for them. And I'm not saying it's, you go into New Orleans completely upset if you lose, but that should be a team you look at and you go, we should be able to compete with them. I think most teams in the NFL, the Giants should think that they have a chance at beating them and confident that they can compete with them, because their defense is strong. Their defense has played really good. I like what I've seen. They made big stops. And with Daniel Jones playing well, their offense is dangerous. So they should be able to compete against good teams. And they're going to get tested against Dallas. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's a huge game. Always a stressful one. But the really, I'm looking again at the stats, and I almost forget the Giants have such a deep receiving core, and I think that potentially could be part of where the problems have come. I remember seeing the clip of Kenny Galladay yelling at Jason Garrett. People thought it was at Daniel Jones, but it was at Jason Garrett. You look at the two guys, Slayton and Shepard, out, and you look at the results. Kenny Galladay, 6 catches, 116 yards. Kadarius Toney, the rookie, 6 catches, 78 yards. He had a couple trickster plays too, where he threw the football, ran on end around. So he's a tough guy. And then even the speedster, I believe, still the fastest player in the NFL.
John Ross.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think so.
John Ross had a deep ball bomb, technically not a touchdown catch, but it was. We all know it. And even if Evan Ingram can get going, I don't know. He's obviously a very streaky, scary player to watch when he makes plays like he did against the Eagles. Yeah. When the Giants had a chance to get into the playoffs somehow last season. But this, the offense is really, to me, so deep and so underrated, because it's just the Giants. Again, the O-line does it a lot. Maybe it's Jason Garrett's coaching style, his play calling. But when these guys get going, when they click, and I think like they did last game, they put up 27 points and they beat teams like the Saints. So it's very, needed, I think, at this point to have games like this to show that this actually is a possibility for this Giants franchise, because they haven't really had many games where, they've won some games here and there, but many games where they win and it's a total just onslaught from the whole offense and a pretty solid defensive game as well.
Again, the same vein, I do think that the offense is only going to get better, because I really like the relationship we've seen from Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay, particularly last week. Like those connections just kind of, and sometimes just like knowing like, all right, I just got to throw it up to this guy and let him make a play. And we've seen Galladay already make some catches where you go, that's why we signed that guy. We signed him to make the catches that not everyone can make. And you mentioned Kadarius Toney, and this was the first game for me where I was like, all right, like I see why he's on our team. This is a crazy athlete. Yeah. I don't remember the last time 3rd and 18, it's all right, 1 yard pass and let the guy get the first down. And he did it again a little bit later in the game. Like he's got some crazy athleticism. And I know Jason Garrett loves to do like the end arounds and the jet sweeps. Yeah. I'd like to start seeing Toney be that guy, because we can't run a jet sweep to Evan Ingram on the 2.
No,
and
that was horrible.
That was a bad play call. And I do think that Jason Garrett still has some questionable play calls, particularly that Evan Ingram jet sweep, but he's got a lot of guys that he can play with and really have some fun with.